Hey everybody, welcome to Monday. And no, I am not channeling Shirley Manson from Garbage with the makeup. I will be quoting Shirley Manson in a bit, but the makeup is from Boss Fight Shooting. Those of you Boss Fight hardcore fans who watch every episode 12 times will probably recognize the makeup. So much black. But yeah, I was shooting more stuff. I realized that part of the thing that's been going on with me lately is I have 12 characters in my head at any given time. I'm very big on character voice, and with editing and with the various performances, sometimes I haven't quite shaken off a particular character. This does not mean I'm insane. This does not mean I don't stand by what I say. It's just a tone thing. I'm also just very, very firmly in the mindset of we need a better way to discuss things online. And that's the topic of this video. If you like videos like this that suggest solutions instead of just pointing out problems and criticizing things, help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. Now, I'm making this video because the last week in Twitter was your standard year of Twitter. Holy crap, a lot happened. And there are certain things I'm just not going to touch. Like the Chris Chan thing. This is my reaction to the Chris Chan thing. I am full Edvard Munch's The Scream on that, okay? I have nothing to add. I have no insider information. Holy fucking shit. Let's move on, okay? There's nothing we can do about that. That's next level. And that's a those are those things, right? When a particular person does something, people love to use the fucked up behavior of a single person to extrapolate to men or women, trans, cis, right? Black, white, brown, so on and so forth. That's one person. One. And sometimes people do things that are so profoundly beyond the norm. No, you cannot extrapolate to other things. You just can't. No, the data doesn't work that way. I'm going to leave it there. And see, there's just certain things that aren't appropriate for opinion videos. There just aren't. Some things are too serious. But then you get into the realm of what the vast majority of really fucking nasty internet fights tend to be about, which is a person's opinion on fictional material. Whether it's the He-Man thing or whether it's, the Matt Damon thing, that I really think that the article and the way it was presented on, so they put all these excerpts up on social media, but the article itself is paywalled, so you can only see the beginning of the Matt Damon quote. So some things are being ascribed to Matt Damon that may or may not be what Matt Damon actually said, and one of which was that anybody could have played Iron Man, and people are rightly going, shut the front door. Robert Downey Jr.'s casting there was a shorthand for, Iron Man's struggle. Iron Man was an alcoholic. Robert Downey Jr. did a lot more than that, but casting Robert Downey Jr. was basically a shorthand for all this stuff instead of having to make a really depressing movie based on that really depressing saga, which was groundbreaking for comics at the time, but not a fun thing to do in a popcorn movie, right? So they solved that problem by just, his story. He was born to play Tony Stark, right? He brings a ground truth to that character that I remember in the first movie. Every time he had that glass of scotch, I'm like, shit, this is heavy. Bad take, right? There are certain things, but I mean, what Matt Damon was talking about was something like ridiculously esoteric. It's one of these ways of how you engage with something is significant. It's very Marshall McLuhan-esque in the media is the massage. And I don't agree with this stuff because I remember when, radio was dead. Listening to music is listening to music. The way you engage with it. You guys might have seen my New Music Nation content on another YouTube channel where it's basically, old Much Music Flow up here in Canada. But okay, we've solved the discoverability problem by using a really low-tech solution. Just make one long video with music videos in it so people can discover bands. And then, I run around being a nerd at a Marvel exhibit. Real simple solution. People said radio is dead before, conservative talk radio essentially brought it back. Television was allegedly changing forever with streaming services, but the only thing that really changed is one, how they measure ratings, because the +7 rating is now significant. That means, air date, 7 days, how many people watch, and like PVR and all that stuff in that 7-day period instead of like the 1 day. They actually have like more accurate metrics than the old school Nielsen boxes from back in the day. But then it's the whole thing of the format of TV has changed basically that your standard Netflix show stops in what would be the middle of your standard network show because it's always a friggin' cliffhanger. And I find that really annoying, but it's the nature of the beast. They want you to binge watch. So what I end up doing is I watch to the middle of the next episode. It's like, all right, this is where the episode would have ended. I'll pick this up tomorrow. That's the only thing that's changed. TV is still TV. The way it's shot, the way it's made, the way it's edited, mostly intact. And it's going to be the same thing for movies. Who cares if somebody pauses a movie? Who cares if somebody stops to text their friends during the movie? They're still engaging with the content. And plenty of people still want to go to movies as an excuse to turn off their phone. I'm one of those people. I'll watch certain movies at home, but the big blockbuster movies, I want that experience. And I think plenty of people do. And you know what? That choice is fine. But am I going to get really mad at Matt Damon because of this? No. What I'm going to do is I'm going to engage with why he felt that way, his explanations. And it is a very interesting thing, the idea of how people consume media is relevant. In some ways, it is relevant. I don't agree with the way he claims. I don't care if somebody pauses a movie. I don't care if somebody pauses a TV show. It's actually, in some ways, very useful for people. Somebody told me recently that there were subtitles in certain shows and they have processing problems. So their ability to pause and read the subtitle meant they knew what was going on. That's great. It's more accessible, right? I pause TV because my dog's destroying something. I don't miss anything. That's not a subpar experience. That's a better experience. What has changed is things like titles. Like when they say a place, it used to be just along the bottom, kind of non-invasive because it was for much bigger screens. It's like, all right, Bend, Oregon. Now it's the whole screen, Bend, Oregon. Why? Because people are watching on phones this big, right? That's a difference. But that doesn't change the fundamentals of telling a linear story, right? It doesn't change the fundamentals of beginning, middle, and end with cinematic techniques. I do think it's great that guys like Matt Damon care this much to talk about it. And this could be a really lucrative conversation, but instead it's, oh my God, how could you say anybody could have played Iron Man? Again, I'm writing that off to a media outlet driving rage clicks. They knew something like that would be controversial, spicy take, so they isolated it and boom. But this isn't working. We're not getting better product. We're getting a ton of retreads. outside of video games, it's almost outside of video games and anime manga, it's almost impossible to get a new IP out. It has to be based on something. So you have to make the video game, anime, or manga, or comic book. But let's face it, even comic books now, it's so big too. Except for stuff like Sweet Tooth. I'll throw Western comics in there too. You got to make that first. Have somebody option it. Wait 5 to 10 years, and then you might see it on the big screen. That's how it works now. And of course, the original content creator doesn't really make a ton. Okay, Jeff Lemire probably did because he's a name. But, in video games, at least people can get paid. Like, that's what makes video games so special. That's why I'm such an advocate for video games. You can make a new IP and present it to people for a reasonable cost in a reasonable amount of time and make some money. That's good. Hollywood is going through a really uncreative period right now for a bunch of different reasons. But that means we're going to get a lot of remakes with, race swap, gender swap, so on and so forth characters. It's just the reality. And we need a way to talk about that without it going totally off the rails. And this is my suggestion. Okay, here it is. Shirley Manson's version of it is grow up and stop throwing your toys around. You are making yourself look like a complete twat. That's what she said about Kanye West with this, I'm going to let you finish, but Beyonce should have won thing. That's one version of saying it. The other version of saying it, the way I phrased it, is a person's opinion on fictional material is less important than why they feel that way. If you like my version better, okay, go with that. I'll repeat it. A person's opinion on fictional media is less important than why they feel that way. If Shirley Manson's version speaks to you more, okay, go with that. Grow up and stop throwing your toys around. You are making yourself look like a complete twat. I don't use the word twat. Okay, that's Shirley Manson's word. And I love Shirley Manson for that. Good for her. Because people are, and it may be hard for some people to hear this, people are throwing their toys around. And it is not making them look anything but foolish. Because there's a sense of scope. The reason fictional examinations of themes are useful is that we can examine it. You get distance to getting close, right? Same way, Robert Downey Jr.'s struggles with addiction were a human tragedy. He almost lost his whole career. Tony Stark's struggle with addiction is a very interesting story, right? It's not the same thing. There's a certain amount of distance in fictional media, which is precisely why people shouldn't be going to wars and calling people stupid and dogpiling people and all that stuff over their opinions on movies, television, and video games. That is not saying you can't criticize something. That isn't saying you can't have strong opinions. I really encourage people to engage in significant ways with media. It's a good way of figuring out who you are. It's a tool for self-actualization. But for God's sakes, if you're going to complain about it, don't tag the creator in it. Come on. Stop throwing your toys around, right? They don't need to know that. I don't know of anybody who doesn't want to do a good job with something when they go in. They can become completely dispirited through the process and end up phoning it in, but nobody goes into something wanting to suck, right? That's part of the empathy gap that I think dialogue can help. What actually goes into making these things? And what it feels like when something just doesn't work out. Because it does happen. Something can start as a great script and you agree to go on it. And then there are changes midstream and it ends up fucking sucking. But we can't have that conversation if people are, to quote Shirley Manson, throwing their toys around. The core of it, and a lot of people don't like to hear this because it means there's some limits on their behavior. There's some consequences for what they do. But, sane people with healthy boundaries don't want to talk to people who call them names and falsely accuse them of dishonesty or duplicity or other, bad things. That just, you start there and you're wrong, or even if you're right, why do you want to talk to a liar? Why do you want to talk to a con man? Why are you bothering? If somebody's dishonest, a dialogue with them isn't going to go anywhere positive. So what's going on here? I keep hearing hurt people, and I believe that. But when you come at somebody that way, you leave them in a no-win situation, right? They either have to ignore you, which I think is what a lot of people assume somebody's going to do, which is, why would you do something you think would be ignored? I don't understand that. Maybe somebody can fill in that gap. But I try to give people benefit of the doubt. So I challenge people back. Like, you come at me, I'm going to come at you. Let's go. Because I know what was in my head. You don't. So, please tell me more. You know what was in my head more than I did. This is very interesting, right? I fight people to give them a chance so that there's a hope of some kind of exchange of ideas. But people would get a much warmer welcome if they didn't approach me throwing their toys around. I mean, one of the things that is more important to me than anything else is my integrity and my honesty. And that doesn't mean I'm wrong all the time, right? But I'm honestly wrong. I don't pander. Shit, if I pandered, I wouldn't make a lot of the videos I do. Part of the reason I make a video every so often that I know people are going to kind of rebel against is so you guys know I don't pull punches just based on popularity. Those videos serve a purpose. That when I'm telling you something, it is my honest opinion. Agree with me, disagree with me, don't accuse me of lying. I've earned that much. And if you don't respect me, why do you deserve my respect? Why should I listen to you? Why should I hear your theory about something or why you didn't like something? You hurled an accusation at me that makes the entire process of having a conversation and spending that patience and having that tolerance not a good use of resources. And to me, if you want to start a discussion with someone, which I don't know if why you're contacting someone just to fling nastiness at them. That's a real person you're contacting. That's the whole purpose of social media. It's not yelling at your TV. It's not water cooler conversation with your friends. When you at somebody, they can hear you. They can see you. It's like going up to somebody's face, like they're sitting there having dinner in a restaurant. And you go up to somebody's face and go, "Why do you suck so much, sucky?" Right? Somebody's going to ask you to leave if you did that in a restaurant. Do you mind I'm eating? Right? No, it's not normal. No, it shouldn't be part of the job. No, it shouldn't be expected. And no matter how many times celebrities from Kelly Marie Tran to James Gunn say this stuff hurts, it affects their mental health. Gina Carano, I'm sure we'll eventually hear from Kevin Smith how much the whole thing stung. I mean, he's pretty much said, yeah, I'm going to ruin people's childhoods. That's him preparing himself for the blow, guys. Like, because it's impossible to make a work of fiction that everybody likes. It's just not possible. Now, there's a big difference between creators who are just like, I hope you like it. Oh, you didn't? Okay. Like, what is somebody supposed to say? You didn't like it. Well, I tried my best. Maybe it's just not for you, you know? What's somebody supposed to do? Oh God, I'm so sorry. That's not honest. Right? That's not honest. People can have a bad day and they see something at the wrong time and they're exposed to something at the wrong time, and that's going to impact their response to it. And there's nothing a creator can do about that. Some people just enjoy hating people in the media. It's the "you're not better than me" thing. More than half my life has been spent being hated by someone for that reason. When I was on TV, I was one of the first thick girls on TV. Like, I started in TV at the time where it was like Ally McBeal and Buffy. Skinny was in. So at the same time I was being called fat and don't look the part, I was also getting dismissed as a slut bimbo. It was real. These are real people. But you have to learn, people don't respond to you as a real person. They respond to you as a commodity. They talk to you the way they do their television set. And a lot of the time it's grossly inappropriate. There's no excuse for that on social media. We can make people recognize that is a real person you're talking to. Imagine you're looking a person in the eye when you say the thing you say. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. The problem solved. Right? How would you want to be approached? Ideally. Not, well, I've had to take it. No, that's not the benchmark. How would you like to be treated? Not how you've been forced to be treated. But how would you like to be treated? Approach someone in that way. And no, I do not believe anybody would prefer scathing, brutal, deeply personal criticism bordering or moving into personal attacks. No one prefers that. Because a personal attack is not useful to make you better as an artist. You're shit. That doesn't help anybody. You're a liar. That doesn't help anybody. You're deceptive. No, I'm not. Strive to be productive in your online communications. And the best way to do that is before you go at someone, like just, why do you think that? Why do you say that? You know, what gives you this impression? What's this about? Because what you do then is you start a dialogue instead of ending it. Because the other side is, you know, I'm at the point where I'm going to have to give up one of my core principles, which is giving people a chance. If I respond to someone, if I snark at somebody, at least they have a chance, right? I'm not going to be nice to them if they're not nice to me. That's just unfair to ask. But, you know, it's that whole people claim they don't believe in punching up and then they do it. No, sorry. No. I truly believe you give people permission to talk to you certain ways. And if you're super nice when somebody is incredibly rude, sometimes that's appropriate, but other times you're giving people permission to treat you like shit. And I just refuse to do that. But as long as there's a conversation going back and forth, even if it's ugly, there's a conversation happening. There's hope. But I'm just going to have to start ignoring people because it's just gotten so ridiculous. And I don't want to, but it's getting to the point that I have to. Because, you know, unfortunately, it's getting to that critical mass of profile. Audience is getting to the point where I only have time for people who can behave. And I actively don't have time for people who can't or choose not to. And this is where I sort of relate to people like Kevin Smith, who is a fan. And it's a painful process to realize you have to separate yourself from people who have been your people or you thought were your people. And you have to realize, oh, wow, you know, I don't belong there anymore. I'm part of a different group that doesn't totally accept me because I'm a geek. I'm not one of these people of, oh, that's just stupid. You know, somebody who legitimately loves this stuff that was fringe, not mainstream for a really long time, and now it's made good. Well, you're stuck between two worlds, right? Because you're not the people that just see the stuff as a cash cow. You legitimately love it. But you're no longer allowed to be just your average geek with opinions who can say ow when something hurts. And that, that's getting the shit end of the stick from both sides. It's not rarefied air. It's not a fun place to be. You go from a place where nobody really feels like, top tier, like high man on the totem pole, to the absolute low end of the totem pole in Hollywood, because, oh my God, the executive hates nerds. It's like it was open animosity. Like, guys like Kevin Feige and Dave Filoni and people like that. Like, yeah, they're like true believers, but you spend a lot of time advocating for content that, management or the accounting department or the marketing department, they don't give a fuck about, right? Everything that gets in is either a compromise or a fight. And you don't have the time to go and fight with people online after that either. It's not a good use of your time. It's not a good use of your energy. It's debilitating, and it means less good stuff gets made. And I don't understand why. You know what? I can't say I don't understand it. I'm in denial about why, people in nerd spaces are so critical of the franchises they claim to love. It's an expression of how they treat themselves. Like that's somebody's negative self-talk pouring out of them because a thing that temporarily stopped the negative self-talk because they could get super into it and leave their troubles behind for a while disappointed them. But that negative self-talk is not destiny. You can retrain yourself to be kinder to yourself. And the most effective way is to change the way you deal with other people first, because people with that kind of negative self-image tend to be their own worst critic. But when you start treating other people with kindness, you'll eventually start to realize, first of all, you'll get more kindness in response, because you won't be getting the "what's wrong with you, fuck off" response, right? But also you start realizing, like, why do I know that it's right to treat other people this way, but not myself this way? Aren't I a person? And we can break the cycle of not treating other people like people. Like, we can do that. That's in our power. We can't control the whole internet. There's still going to be stupid, goofy parts of Twitter, but at least we can say, we're not a part of it. We're not throwing our toys around, and it's real simple. Before you jump on somebody, before you jump to disagree with a real person's opinion, I'm not talking about newspapers, right? Like, that's a game, that's a racket. Distinguish between a newspaper article designed to drive clickbait and a person just voicing their opinion. Rail on the clickbait all you want. Fuck it. That's what it's for, right? But a personality who makes a comment, why do you feel that way? What gives you that impression? Where do you get that from? Start there instead of bad take. Bad take, that bad take, terrible take the L. Those are prime markers of throwing your toys around. Here's a secret, nobody takes that seriously. Nobody. You seem like a child. That may hurt, but think about what you're flinging out there. You should be able to take it. If that comment stings, you're throwing out way worse than you can take. Ask questions, engage people, begin a conversation. People find people who ask questions charming. That's one of the things they teach you in like interviews. You want to ingratiate yourself to somebody, ask them a question about themselves. A lot of people like talking about themselves. I don't. I like talking about ideas. But it's a start. I believe we can do better. I don't believe the media is the massage. Fuck McLuhan. Try it, please. That's all I'm asking. Try it. If you do it enough times, you will start getting better responses. Okay? And help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching.